Chosen one, lean in and be still. You did not arrive here by chance. Something older than your name has been drawing you to this exact breath. Heaven has kept watch over your timeline, shielding what needed to sleep until it was safe to wake. There are truths you were never taught because they were never meant to be installed by this world. They were hidden in you, encrypted beneath fear and noise, waiting for your spirit to remember. Thank you to everyone supporting Via Super. Thanks you, keep these messages flowing. Your presence here matters, and your hunger for truth is not a trend. It is a summons. If this word is confirming something in you, comment 7memory77 and share this with someone who needs it. That number is a signal, a witness, a declaration that you are aligned to receive. This is not hype. This is holy timing. Breathe, receive, and let this word find you. There is a reason you have felt late to your own unveiling. It is not lateness, it is timing. The sacred amnesia protocol is a mercy. When an adversary cannot destroy a destiny, it seeks to recruit it, rename it, or reroute it. So heaven concealed the deepest layer of your knowing inside a chamber they could not map. You carried it quietly, moving through ordinary days, while a sealed archive traveled with you untouched. That is why certain phrases hit you like echoes. You are not learning, you are remembering. The lock turns as you speak what was written on you before language. Some gates only open when the passphrase rises from your own breath, not when someone else repeats it. You could not be tricked into surrendering what you did not yet consciously possess. Illusion depends on preloading you with counterfeits so that, when truth arrives, you dismiss it. The protocol left holy room inside you so nothing false could anchor there. You were permitted to feel ache and holy dissatisfaction. So when the original came, your spirit would leap in recognition. Even your restlessness was guidance, a compass pointing away from polished lies. This is why you survived atmospheres that swallowed others. You did not have all the data, but something in you refused to sign contracts your soul could not read. Even in confusion, you kept your name out of their registry. People called it intuition or luck. You can name it divine engineering. Your silence was not emptiness. It was encryption. It scrambled surveillance and preserved revelation while it was in transit. Betrayal did not bury you. It triggered recall. Loss did not erase you. It sharpened your outline. What seemed like detours were decoys that kept predators busy while your assignment matured in hidden light. The quiet seasons were not wasted. They were the slow download of original instructions, line by line, dream by dream. Understand this, the protocol was never meant to keep you ignorant. It was designed to keep you intact until the appointed hour. That hour is speaking now. The seal is cracking. And what returns to you in this season is not merely information, but inheritance, the echo of every covenant heaven made concerning you. Arriving on time, wearing your name, asking to be lived. Breathe, steady your shoulders, and answer the recall with courage. Chosen one, you have signed more contracts than you realize without ink, without a table, without even knowing you were in the room. The unseen runs on law, and law binds you whether or not you understood the terms. Every careless word, every "that's just who I am" uttered in resignation. Every silence when your spirit was urging you to speak, these are signatures. The illusion is not sustained by great acts of evil alone, but by small agreements repeated until they form a legal fortress in the spirit. Some of these agreements were inherited before you could choose. Your ancestors, under pressure, under attack, or under deception, made covenants to survive. Promises like, "We keep our heads down," or "We never challenge authority," might have shielded them from danger in their day. But now they are chains on your ankles. They don't sound like chains because they are disguised as family wisdom. They are passed down as tradition, and tradition becomes the perfect camouflage for bondage. Others you've made yourself in moments of exhaustion or grief. The day you told yourself, "I'll never trust again," you didn't just close your heart to people, you wrote a clause that also limited heaven's ability to send you allies. The night you said, "I guess I deserve this," You notarized a lie as if it were your birthright. The adversary smiles at such moments, because the strongest prisons are the ones you help maintain. But here's the truth: every contract signed without the author's hand is invalid in heaven's court. The moment you become aware, you gain legal standing to challenge it. That is why awareness is dangerous to darkness. It is the equivalent of finding the hidden ledger where every false agreement is recorded. Once you see the page, you can stamp it. Void. How do you void a contract in the unseen? You begin by reforming your language. Words are not casual, they are legally binding in the realm of spirit. Heaven itself was spoken into being. Your words still carry that same creative architecture. When you stop saying, "It's always been this way," and start saying, "This ends with me," you are filing an amendment that cancels the renewal of a curse. When you declare, "I align only with what God has written," you are returning to the original covenant drafted for your life before the foundation of the world. Boundaries are clauses in your favor. Every time you refuse to join a conversation that poisons the soul, you deny the enemy evidence against you. When you walk away from a performance meant to flatter your ego into compromise, you close a loophole that would have cost you later. Even the unseen takes notice the gate is closed. Access denied. Do not fear the collapse that comes after. Illusions are scaffolds. Remove enough contracts and the entire structure falls. When it falls, those who relied on your consent to keep their fiction intact will be forced to face the vacancy. Truth creates. Some will run, some will awaken. But either way, you will be free. Remember this: the oldest contract concerning you was written by God Himself. It is sealed, witnessed, and cannot expire. Every other document is counterfeit. You are not bound to it, you are not owned by it, and you have heaven's authority to tear it apart. Chosen one, they have mistaken your silence for absence. They have read your quiet as weakness, as if you withdraw because you have nothing to offer. But you know better. Your stillness is not surrender, it is shielding. In the unseen, silence is not empty, it is a vault. Every time you choose not to speak, you are encrypting revelation until it reaches the appointed hour. You are not withholding because you fear the reaction. You are withholding because the truth you carry must arrive intact, unmarred by premature exposure. In a world addicted to oversharing, your restraint is a language most cannot understand. It confuses the systems designed to monitor your frequency. They want to catalog your reactions, measure your tone, and map your strategies before you move. But when you go quiet, you scramble their data. Your stillness becomes a moving target they cannot lock onto. Even when they bait you to speak too soon, you let the moment pass. Knowing revelation delivered out of season is vulnerable to distortion. Think of encryption in the digital realm. Once a message is encrypted, it becomes unreadable to anyone without the right key. Your silence works the same way. Heaven holds the decryption key, and no amount of prying can unlock what God has sealed. This is why some people grow restless around you. It is not what you say that unsettles them, it is what they cannot read. Your spiritual lineage has always known this form of protection. Enslaved ancestors hid escape routes in the patterns of quilts. Prophets tucked warnings inside psalms. Visionaries coded blueprints into songs that seemed ordinary to the untrained ear. The oppressor could hear the sound, see the shape, but never decipher the meaning. You carry the same technology in your spirit. Even your casual words are layered, and only those with eyes to see and ears to hear can detect the deeper message. This is not secrecy born of fear, it is strategy born of wisdom. Not every ear is worthy to carry the weight of your truth. Not every voice can echo your sound without warping it. Silence buys you discernment. It allows you to see who draws near for light and who approaches for leverage. There will be moments when the Spirit urges you to speak with urgency, when your voice must ring out without hesitation, but there will also be seasons when your silence is the loudest sermon you will ever preach. Even Jesus, though carrying all truth, often withheld certain revelations until the hour appointed by the Father. Your walk is no different. Timing is not a detail, it is part of the message. The illusion demands constant output to keep you visible and predictable. But when you step off that conveyor belt, You disappear from their grid. You are still here, but you've moved into a wavelength only heaven can monitor. That is your frequency refuge, the place where surveillance fails, where interference cannot reach you, and where destiny breathes without obstruction. So do not despise your quiet seasons. They are not evidence of neglect, they are evidence of encryption. And when the appointed moment comes, your release will not be a reaction, it will be a revelation, whole and uncorrupted, sent on the exact frequency that will shatter what it was sent to break. Chosen one, you have been told your instincts are coincidence, your sensitivities an inconvenience, your emotions something to tame. But what you carry is not fragility, it is an archive. Your body is not just bone and muscle. It is a living library. Every cell is a page. Every heartbeat is a drum keeping time with a story that started long before you. This is the ancestral cache truth stored in your very flesh, passed down not by paper or ink, but by the currents of blood and breath. Some of what you feel is not from this lifetime. The sudden tightness in your chest when someone lies, the goosebumps when prophecy is spoken, the heaviness in your gut when a room is unsafe. These are not random biological reactions. They are your body's way of surfacing stored data from generations before you, your great-grandmother's discernment, your ancestors' warning cries, their prayers embedded as code in your nervous system. The illusion wants you to believe memory lives only in the mind, but your body remembers differently. It remembers the sound of chains and the breaking of them. It remembers the scent of smoke from altars built to idols, and the wind that came when those idols fell. It remembers how your lineage survived invasions, famines, betrayals, and what decisions kept the remnant alive. You've inherited more than eye color or bone structure. You've inherited the reflex to pause before danger fully appears, the way your hand hovers before touching something cursed, the pull you feel toward the right road when there are three before you. These are not quirks, they are ancestral GPS coordinates. Your body is running a guidance system that predates modern maps, and yet this cache is not meant to be worshipped. It is meant to be stewarded. Old wounds can live there, two trauma loops, fear scripts, and defensive reflexes that no longer serve your current assignment. Part of your work is to discern what to keep and what to release. Some codes are survival mechanisms that kept your people alive in seasons of captivity, but will cage you if you cling to them now. How do you read this living archive? You listen. You notice what your body does in silence. You pay attention to the shift in your breathing when someone speaks truth, the way your spine straightens when you step into a place of purpose. You stop overriding your internal alarms just to keep the peace. Every time you honor the signal, you deepen your access to the cache. Science calls it epigenetics. The spirit calls it inheritance. Scripture says, the life of every creature is in the blood. Leviticus 17:14. That means life, history, patterns, and prophecy are moving through you at this very moment. You are not starting from zero. You are the continuation of every yes to God spoken by those who came before you. So, chosen one, when you feel something in your body before you can explain it with your mind, don't dismiss it. That's not paranoia, it's your archive speaking. It's your bloodline whispering. We've seen this before. Here is what to do. You are not just guided by heaven in the present, you are backed by the wisdom of ages past. Chosen one, you were not sent merely to spot the lie, you were sent to guard the truth. Discernment is more than perception, it is protection and timing. In a landscape where deception moves like currency, raw truth is a high-value target. The moment you reveal it, forces gather to dilute it, misquote it, or weaponize it against you. Counterintelligence is not secrecy for its own sake, but strategy in service of assignment. Counterintelligence means you release light without handing out a map. You give signal, not coordinates. You let allies recognize your sound while denying predators the pattern they need to predict you. This is why you sometimes feel the urge to downshift your brilliance in certain rooms. You are not hiding. You are shielding the message until it can land without being intercepted. Consider Joseph. His dreams were true, but telling them in the wrong circle triggered a pit and a prison. Heaven did not retract the gift. Heaven refined the delivery. Later, in Pharaoh's court, his timing matched his wisdom, and the message saved nations. Discernment without strategy is a flare in a dark field. It lights the truth for a moment, and it broadcasts your position to every hunter nearby. The Spirit will even use decoys. You may share a harmless detail that satisfies curiosity while the core blueprint stays locked within. You leave breadcrumbs that lead only where you consent to be found. The adversary, certain it has captured your route, discovers a cul-de-sac. Guard your inner room as well. Some revelations arrive unripe. If you place them on the table too soon, critics will cut them apart and thieves will pocket the seeds. Prayer is the ripening room. Counsel with the right voices is the seal on the jar. When the hour comes, the fruit can be served without bruising. Your body can practice counterintelligence too. You take the longer street, you delay a post, you reorder your day so that watchers receive noise instead of insight. This is not paranoia. It is wisdom that keeps your steps from becoming a broadcast. The prudent keep knowledge to themselves. Proverbs 12:23. The crown waits in the closet until coronation. Learn the difference between a testimony and a tactic. Testimonies strengthen the flock. Tactics disclose method, timing, and supply lines. Share the first often. Share the second rarely and only at heaven's cue. Remember that even a good listener can repeat a detail in an unsafe room. You are responsible for your boundaries. You are not responsible for their feelings about them. Counterintelligence also blesses your future. Each time you refuse to over-explain, you close a legal loophole the enemy could exploit later. Each time you withhold from flattery, you starve the trap that baited you last season. When the time for unveiling arrives, your word will not be a reaction to pressure. It will be a revelation with its own armor, carried by timing and covered by prayer. So obey the nudge to be brief. Obey the urge to wait one more day. Obey the instruction to say less than you know. You are not small for doing so. You are royal, and royal houses guard their archives. You are not shrinking the light. You are shaping the beam so it cuts clean through the fog and cannot be bent into a weapon against you. Chosen one, you are not the first to carry a frequency that unsettles rooms built on illusion. Across centuries, others walked with a clarity that governance could not file, markets could not price, and critics could not tame. They were not welcomed, they were watched. They were not embraced, they were restrained. Yet their truth kept leaking forward, because truth outlives the hands that try to smother it. Think of Harriet Tubman. She held no credential, no sanctioned permission slip, yet navigated souls through night by visions and remembered paths. Patrols studied her routes. None decoded the compass inside her chest. When they said impossible, she treated the word like fog and kept going. Consider Galileo Galilei. He turned a lens toward the heavens and saw a pattern that contradicted the comfortable story of his day. Censure followed, house arrest followed, but the data did not repent. His notes crossed borders, and the sky refused to return to the old arrangement. Recall Joan of Arc, a teenager, untrained by courts or generals, yet aflame with instruction that cut through confusion. She wore armor, strangers mocked and obeyed a voice they could not hear. They burned the body, they could not burn the assignment. Conviction survived the ashes. In Sojourner Truth, born without legal personhood, denied letters, yet rising to speak with a timbre that split facades from foundations. She refused to surrender her name or her witness. Rooms shifted when she stood, not from spectacle, but from authority. Ada Lovelace saw engines as more than gears. She imagined language inside machines before the world had a word for it. Men debated. She wrote a map to futures their eyes could not hold. Her insight outran her century and kept running. Alan Turing, quiet and strange to his peers, listened to patterns few perceived and cracked what empires called unbreakable. They punished him for being different. History repented later. The lives saved could not be counted on the day they judged him. What binds these lives to yours is not identical task, but uncontainable essence. Each carried revelation that threatened arrangements built on comfort. Each paid a cost for refusing to dim, yet their cost was seed. You feel that echo in your ribs when you read their names. It is why diluted stories never satisfy you. You are wired for the primary source. Expect misunderstanding. Systems reward mimicry and punish origin. When you refuse to perform a smaller version of yourself, you become a problem their formulas cannot solve. They may rename you to make you less dangerous. They may delay you to tire your hope. They may praise you in public and edit you in private. Hold your axis. You answer to a higher archive. Take courage from the pattern. Surveillance failed to freeze Harriet. Silence failed to erase Galileo. Fire failed to cancel Joan. Law failed to quiet Sojourner. Neglect failed to bury Ada. Shame failed to finish Turing. What failed on them will fail on you. History remembers the uncontainable, even when the footnotes try to misplace them. You are not here to be agreeable. You are here to be aligned. Walk with the knowledge that your obedience will read as defiance to those married to the illusion. Let it. Your task is not to calm their fear. Your task is to keep the light unedited until it finds its appointed audience. Chosen one. There is a tone in your spirit that no human hand placed there and no earthly training could produce. It is not a learned accent, not a rehearsed inflection, not the result of a program or syllabus. It is the original resonance of your soul, the pitch you were tuned to before your first breath. Heaven set it in motion, and nothing on this earth can create its equal. That is why people study you. They listen for your choice of words, mimic your pauses, even try to map your rhythm. Some will dress like you, speak like you, organize their sentences the way you do, and still they cannot produce the same effect. They are tracing the outline of something they cannot animate. Because what you carry is not style, it is source. Style can be copied, source must be received from the one who authored you. You often move unaware of its reach. You walk into a room and watch conversations change without your saying a word. You speak casually, and someone's inner storm quiets. You ask a question, and suddenly pretenses fall. Some people find themselves confessing truths they didn't mean to reveal. Others retreat as though your presence turned on a light they weren't ready for. It's resonance, like one perfectly tuned string setting another into vibration without touch. Your life sends out a frequency that stirs what is aligned and exposes what is not. Those attuned to truth feel an ancient familiarity in you. Those bound to illusion feel a discomfort they can't explain. Counterfeits always fail because they cannot duplicate connection. They can memorize your vocabulary, borrow your aesthetic, even mirror your demeanor, but their sound lacks the living current. To the untrained ear, it may seem similar. To those with discernment, the hollowness is instant. They are replaying an echo without the voice that produced it. My sheep hear my voice. John 10:27 is not only about words, it is about the unmistakable imprint of authenticity. Heaven recognizes you instantly, and so do those you are meant to reach. This is why you have always been both sought after and resisted. The same sound that draws some will repel others, because your pitch dismantles the harmonies they've built around falsehood. But this frequency is not invincible to neglect. Bitterness can muffle it, fear can warp it, compromise can detune it. That is why your refining seasons have been so intense. Every fire you've walked through was heaven tuning you back to your original pitch. You were being restored to the clarity you carried before disappointment tried to distort your sound. The temptation will come to package your frequency for applause or influence. Resist it. The moment you alter your pitch to please the masses, you shift out of the key heaven set for you. And if you hold that false pitch too long, you will stop resonating with the ones your voice was made to awaken. So guard it, speak from it, live in it. Your frequency was not given to entertain. It was given to call forth the sleeping, to stir what has been silent, to signal that the time has come. And when those who are meant to hear you finally do, they will know without doubt they have found the original, chosen one. You have been under observation longer than you realize. Some eyes are open in admiration, others narrowed in calculation. They rarely announce themselves. but their attention is deliberate. Some smile in your presence while taking mental notes. Others keep a careful distance, yet track your steps through whispers and reports. You are not imagining this. It is the nature of carrying something they cannot name but cannot ignore. People watch what they fear might surpass them, and they watch what they secretly wish they could become. You embody both. Your resilience confounds those who predicted collapse. Your clarity unsettles those whose influence depends on smoke. Even your stillness troubles them, because they cannot tell whether you are resting or preparing for a move that will rewrite the board. You have noticed the patterns. Certain figures appear wherever you are, not to engage but to observe. Your name enters rooms you have never stepped into. Accounts arrive with adjectives to shape perception before you arrive. Sometimes it is praise, sometimes poison. Either way, the energy is the same they are tracking. Not every tracker is malicious, but every tracker extracts something from what they see. Some are studying to copy. They replay your words, mimic your cadence, borrow your timing. They think mirroring the surface grants access to the depth. But the essence they chase cannot be learned. It must be lived. Without your refining, they can only produce replicas without power. Tidy, impressive, and empty. The echo is loud. The voice is missing. Others are watching for an opening. They wait for stumble or silence, convinced that one human moment will let them discredit what they envy. Yet what they call weakness is often heaven's tuning, and what they call opportunity is often the setup for your next elevation. Pruning is not punishment. It is preparation for fruit. Then there are those who watch because you are a barometer. You shift when the spiritual weather changes. They measure their season by reading your movement, because you seem to live a few frames ahead. They may never admit this, but in quiet moments they compare their trajectory with your obedience and recalibrate. Psalm 23 says, "You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies." Your life becomes the table. Provision in your hands is the meal. Those who would never admit hunger still come close enough to smell the bread. They may not offer thanks, but they learn the menu by watching you eat. Being watched is not a curse. It is confirmation. Surveillance means you matter to the narrative, whether they love you or oppose you. Do not shrink to avoid it. You cannot live a life worth living and remain invisible to those invested in illusion. Let their attention refine your steps without owning your pace. So walk with your head steady and your boundaries firm. Share testimony, not tactics. Announce outcomes, not blueprints. Move on heaven's timing, not the timeline their curiosity demands. When praise tries to steer you, bless it and keep your compass. When criticism tries to freeze you, bless it and keep moving. You are not here to perform for the watchers. You are here to fulfill the assignment that makes them watch. When you feel the weight of eyes, remember why it rests on you. Presence is evidence. Purpose is visible. Light cannot hide and remain light. You were not sent to be unobserved. You were sent to be undeniable and to do it without losing your peace. Chosen one. There is a hinge in every story when the door finally swings on memory. It is not the loud miracle others expect. It is the quiet click that happens inside your chest. You realize the enemy's sharpest blade was never the wound. It was the doubt that followed. They did not only want to break your heart, they wanted to rewrite your name. Every smear, delay, and cold shoulder was crafted to make you question what heaven sealed. Then one ordinary day, a line from scripture or a fragment of a dream, and something opens. This remembering is not a new lesson. It is an old certificate rediscovered. You recall that you were marked before the meeting, before the rumor, before the storm. You see that your setbacks were not proof of weakness, but proof of weight. The evidence that your calling could carry more than convenience. Labels crumble. Fog lifts. You breathe like you have room again. When you remember who you are, posture changes before circumstances do. You stop auditioning for rooms that shrink you. You stop begging for invitations from tables you were born to set. Doors no longer decide your future because you finally recognize the key in your hand. Your movement unnerves those who depended on your uncertainty to keep you manageable. It is like a warrior regaining memory mid-battle. The stance steadies, the eyes focus. Blows still come, but they land differently. You fight from the end, not toward it. In all these things, we are more than conquerors. Romans 8:37 stops being a verse you admire and becomes the cadence of your stride. This remembering rarely arrives with fanfare. It comes while washing dishes, driving home, or tying your shoes. Yet from that moment, your choices align with design. You turn down glitter that once distracted you. You stop translating yourself for people committed to misunderstanding you. You choose conversations that feed your spirit, not your insecurity. Your calendar begins to look like your calling. The adversary notices. Old bait loses flavor. Old traps sit empty. You no longer react, you respond from knowing. And knowing is lethal to deception. You start recognizing patterns clearly: who benefits when you play small, who grows when you stand tall, who claps only when you are quiet. Proximity stops masquerading as loyalty. You also remember mercy. The same light that exposes illusion in others has been gentle with you. So you correct without cruelty, confront without contempt, and leave without theatrics. Remembering yourself does not make you hard, it makes you clean. From here, you move with holy intentionality. Words measured, not from fear, but from authority. Pace unhurried, because revelation is not late. Boundaries firm, because peace is part of your assignment. You carry yourself like someone who read the last chapter and refuses to spoil the plot with panic. Chosen one, this is the turn the systems dread. You stop seeking permission to be what God already named. You retire from negotiations about your worth. You decline the price of entry that demands your silence. You bless watchers without performing for them, and you bless critics without renting them your attention. Stand in the recovered name. Let memory finish what warfare started. What you remember now cannot be revoked by rumor, delay, or threat. You are not trying to become, you are returning. And that, more than anything, is why the ground beneath you finally feels solid. Chosen one, there comes a day when you no longer flinch at the weight of your crown. You wear it without apology, without over-explaining, without bending your neck so others feel tall. This is not arrogance, it is alignment. The ground has shifted beneath you so many times that now you've learned to walk on moving floors without losing your step. You know storms can swirl, whispers can rise, and systems can scheme. But you also know none of it can cancel the blueprint written over your life. The future ahead of you is not a distant horizon, it's a room you've already been furnished for. Every conversation you once thought was random was a rehearsal. Every heartbreak was a chiseling. Every delay was a calibration. You've been in training so long that the threshold no longer intimidates you. You don't wait for someone to open the door. You turn the handle and walk in like you have the deed. Because in the spirit, you do. People will stare, not because they suddenly recognize your value, but because you no longer require them to validate it. That's the shift. You don't measure your worth by applause or invitations. You measure it by how faithfully you remain in position when the spotlight moves. You've learned the difference between being celebrated and being chosen. One is seasonal, the other is eternal. And as you move, the room will start to rearrange itself. Hidden allies will step forward. Former enemies will try to soften their history. Doors that were bolted will open like automatic gates. Not because the locks broke, but because your frequency changed. You're no longer knocking, you're carrying the master key. This is when the enemy gets nervous, not because you survived, but because you thrived without their permission. You learned to plant gardens in the wilderness. You learned to feast at a table you set for yourself. You learned to breathe in spaces that tried to suffocate you. That resilience, that refusal to die in the dark, is what makes your presence disruptive to any atmosphere built on control. Walking into your future is not about proving them wrong, it's about proving God right. You're not entering to settle scores, you're entering to settle destiny. You are evidence that obedience wins in the long game. You are proof that taking the long way was never a delay, it was divine choreography. And as you step into what's next, You stop carrying old narratives that don't fit the new room. You stop rehearsing pain for sympathy. You stop letting your past serve as your only introduction. Instead, you carry joy that confuses the ones who thought they knew your story. You move with clarity that cannot be bargained with. You speak with authority that is not on loan, it's in your DNA. Chosen one. Walk in like the light you carry was always meant to flood the place. Walk in knowing the floor is reinforced to hold the weight of your assignment. Walk in with gratitude, not desperation. And when you get there, don't shrink, expand. Fill the room, own the space heaven designed with your name etched in the foundation. You are not lucky to be here. The room is fortunate to have you. Now, chosen one, let the pace slow. You've walked through fire. You've stood in the courtrooms of heaven. You've carried weights that would have broken another. But here, in this moment, there is no need to fight, no need to defend, no need to perform. You have crossed a line in the spirit where striving no longer lives. This is the place where you exhale without fear that someone will take advantage of your stillness. This is the place where you feel God's presence not as a shout, but as a whisper that wraps around you like a soft garment. Here the applause fades, the critics fade, even the memory of the battlefield begins to fade. What remains is you whole, anchored, and untouchable in the center of God's will. The journey has not made you hard, it has made you unshakable. There is a difference. You can still love